The movie begins with a beautiful scene on Skull Island. Kong is seen waking up from his sleep in the bright morning atmosphere. He is relaxed, walking through the river and bathing in the waterfall, as if this is his routine. The story continues with Jia, who appears to be engrossed in making a doll that resembles Kong. Meanwhile, Kong is seen making a stick from a tree. Jia runs up to Kong to show him her new doll. But her expression changes when Kong shows an unfriendly attitude. Kong then threw his stick into the sky, shattering the ceiling. As it turned out, Kong was inside a dome belonging to Monarch that was designed like a natural ecosystem. The atmosphere outside the dome was dark and different from the bright atmosphere inside the dome. A dendrologist, Dr. Andrews, who was monitoring Kong, spoke with other Monarch workers about the possibility of moving Kong. They discussed that Kong's aggressive behavior and growth might disrupt the ecosystem inside the dome. However, moving Kong also risks triggering a conflict with Godzilla, as according to mythology, there cannot be two Alpha Titans. Meanwhile, Jia seems to have gotten along well with Dr. Andrews and is able to communicate using sign language. She tells Dr. Andrews that Kong seems angry. The story continues with the introduction of a new character named Barney. He is an uncoverer of conspiracy theories about Titans and the involvement of a technology industry called Apex Cybernetics. Barney worked as a technician at Apex, and for 5 years, he gathered information from within the company. Barney worked at the Apex factory in Florida and managed to get important information about the construction of the Apex installation in Hong Kong. Not long after, Godzilla appeared and attacked the factory. Barney found a red iron ball among the ruins of the factory. News of Godzilla's attack reaches Madison, the daughter of Dr. Emma and Mark Russell. Madison tries to convince her father to find out the cause of Godzilla's attack, as she believes that Godzilla is the protector of mankind. However, her father disagrees. Madison, who often listens to Barney's podcast, believes that Apex is the cause of Godzilla's anger. The owner of Apex, Walter Simmons, and his subordinate, Ren Serizawa, meet Dr. Nathan Lind. They plan to explore Hollow Earth and ask for Nathan's help to find a way to get there. The reason for this project was to research the energy source in Hollow Earth that would be used to defeat Godzilla, who had now become evil. At first, Nathan refuses as he argues that humans cannot go to Hollow Earth. He explains that there is a strong gravitational field that will damage the human body if it passes through it before entering Hollow Earth. However, Walter has a solution, which is to use a vehicle that can penetrate the gravitational field, called HEV. Finally, Nathan agrees and explains that to go to Hollow Earth, they need a Titan to help them, namely Kong. This is because, by nature, a Titan has a strong instinct to return to where it came from. Kong was the right Titan because it was believed that Skull Island was an island that was part of Hollow Earth that happened to surface. Nathan went to Andrews and explained about this plan. He emphasized that this project would help Kong find a new home and would also be a big step towards saving humanity from Godzilla's attack. Although worried about Kong's safety, Andrews reluctantly agreed to this plan.
Thank you.
Long story short, Kong was transported on a warship and surrounded by a tight military force. They traveled across the ocean to the Monarch base in Antarctica. On the way, Kong throws a tantrum due to anxiety. Gia quickly came to calm Kong down. Andrews, who was worried about Gia, rushed to her rescue. However, he was surprised that Gia was able to calm Kong down and that Kong understood sign language. Meanwhile,
so what are they working on in such blackout secrecy? They're gonna keep tugging. For now, I'm secure. Match any of the engineering specs I've ever seen. Oh, some crazy tech with an Apex Pensacola in the midst of Godzilla.
Madison and her friend Josh try to find Barney, who is finally found.
Psionic link technology. Emma Russell, right?
After that, they plan to find out the cause of Godzilla's anger. They finally agree to find out the truth in the ruins of the Apex building in Florida. After learning that Kong can understand sign language, Nathan plans to use Gia to control Kong and take them to Hollow Earth. In the midst of the conversation between Nathan and Andrews, Godzilla appeared, knowing Kong's whereabouts. As a result, a fight is inevitable. Kong, who was still chained up, had a hard time dealing with Godzilla as Godzilla's overturned ship drowned Kong in the water. After the chains were released, the fight became even wilder. Godzilla, who was in the water, managed to drown Kong repeatedly with his tail. Godzilla dragged Kong to the bottom of the sea, but Kong managed to escape thanks to the help of underwater bombs from the remaining warships. Kong, who was at a disadvantage in the fight, eventually escaped from Godzilla and returned to the ship exhausted and sprawled out. Meanwhile, Godzilla appeared in the distance looking unharmed. Knowing that they could not win from Godzilla, Nathan and Andrews tried to pretend that they had lost. They asked the ship's captain to turn off all the ship's power to make it appear that they were dead. As a result, their plan worked, and Godzilla left. To continue their journey, Nathan plans to transport Kong by air, because if they take the sea route, Godzilla will attack them again. Elsewhere, Madison's group at the Apex ruins is trapped inside a container containing research subjects, namely skullcrawler eggs. They were then sent to the Apex facility in Hong Kong along with the research subjects. returned to Kong's entourage being transported by helicopter. They arrived at the Monarch facility in Antarctica. Initially, Kong did not want to accompany them to enter the cave to Hollow Earth. However, because Gia persuaded Kong by saying that maybe Kong's family was in there, he eagerly ran into the cave. Nathan, Andrews, Gia, and the people from Apex Riding the Hev followed Kong into the cave. After successfully passing through a gravity portal that almost took their lives, they arrived at Hollow Earth. It looks similar to Skull Island, with forests, rivers, and mountains. Even the ceiling had the same ecosystem. They were stopped by a titan named Warbet, but Kong defeated him and continued their journey. Kong arrived at a rocky mountain that had a bluish color and an inverted gravity. Elsewhere, Barney's group made it to Hong Kong. There, they learned of the Apex Company's plan to create a MechaGodzilla and use Skullcrawler as an experiment. Apex's MechaGodzilla was shown to be capable of emitting a red laser and was able to split a large Skullcrawler. However, after launching the attack, MechaGodzilla ran out of power and died. Knowing this, we finally understood why Godzilla attacked the Apex building in Florida. Apparently, Godzilla sensed the presence of another Titan, and the red ball Barney saw was the cause, as it was part of MechaGodzilla's eye. Soon, Godzilla headed to Hong Kong as he sensed the presence of the activated MechaGodzilla again. Kong finally arrived at the energy center of Hollow Earth, shaped like a palace at the foot of a rock mountain. Kong opened a large gate and entered a place that had long been abandoned. There, he found an axe and sat on a throne like a king. Then, Andrews said that Kong had really gone home. Meanwhile, Madison and the others managed to locate the remote-controlled MechaGodzilla pilot. The surprising thing is that the skull of the remaining King Ghidorah is used as a link between the human pilot and MechaGodzilla. Ren Serizawa is known to be the pilot and is currently inside the skull. Before long, Godzilla had arrived in Hong Kong and was rampaging through the city. Meanwhile, Kong managed to find Hollow Earth's energy core thanks to her axe. When Kong placed the axe on the ground, the bluish energy formed a Godzilla-like layer and was absorbed into the axe. This was also felt by Godzilla, characterized by a flame on his horn skin, as if he was about to release atomic breath. The Apex team that followed to Hollow Earth released a robot to take a sample of the blue crystal that was believed to produce infinite energy. After successfully extracting the crystal, they immediately sent it to the Apex Company in Hong Kong to activate the MechaGodzilla. Godzilla, who already knew Kong was in Hollow Earth, immediately directed his atomic breath underground and penetrated to Kong's place in Hollow Earth. Knowing there was Godzilla on the surface, Kong took her axe and approached Godzilla through the hole made by Godzilla himself. The fight was on again. This time, Kong had the advantage of being on land, and there were many tall buildings that limited Godzilla's mobility. Evidently, Kong was able to maneuver and avoid Godzilla's atomic breath attack. Later, Kong tried to unleash her axe on Godzilla, but Godzilla sprayed his atomic breath on the axe until it was overloaded with energy. As a result, the axe exploded before it hit Godzilla's body, sending them flying. However, Godzilla got up first. Godzilla got back to his feet and put up a more aggressive fight. Kong also looked overwhelmed by Godzilla's more agile movements. As a result, Godzilla was able to injure Kong so badly that she could no longer stand. With this condition, Godzilla tried to keep Kong on the ground by stepping on her chest. He roared at Kong to show her who King Alpha really was. However, Kong did not want to give in so easily. She also returned the roar with difficulty and pain. Seeing her helpless opponent, Godzilla left Kong, who eventually lost consciousness. After learning Apex's secret, Madison's group was finally captured and brought before Walter Simmons. There, they saw MechaGodzilla activated with crystal energy that the Apex people had extracted from Hollow Earth. However, there was a failure in MechaGodzilla's activation process. The pilot's control was cut off, and MechaGodzilla's consciousness took over. As a result, Ren Serizawa was electrocuted and unconscious. Then MechaGodzilla attacked Walter Simmons instead. MechaGodzilla then broke out of the Apex base. And faced off against Godzilla. The battle ensued again. However, this time Godzilla seemed overwhelmed, and MechaGodzilla seemed superior in terms of stamina and weapons. Knowing this, Nathan Andrews and Gia tried to wake up the dying Kong by exploding a HEV, which finally restored Kong's heartbeat, which was initially weakened. Kong finally woke up and was asked to help Godzilla and defeat MechaGodzilla. Kong immediately ran to the battlefield and ganged up on MechaGodzilla. Despite winning in numbers, MechaGodzilla's strength was still superior, and they were both still overwhelmed. Until when Josh and Bernie managed to create an opening by damaging MechaGodzilla's control machine with Barney's liquor. MechaGodzilla became weak. Then, Godzilla shot his atomic breath towards Kong's axe to be used for chopping MechaGodzilla into pieces. They eventually won. However, the tension between Godzilla and Kong was not over. Godzilla, who tried to approach Kong, still had the intention to fight. Kong also prepared to fight again without his axe. However, Kong relented by dropping his axe, and Godzilla disappeared into the sea.